Eggs, Day 6. Minutes later, walking home, Primrose noticed that her steps were getting shorter and shorter. The crotch of her pantyhose, she discovered, had come down to her knees. While a voiceless cat called from passing cars, she tore off her high heels and stockings and left them on someone's front steps. She walked. She did not know where, she just walked. Only dimly was she aware of the darkening sunset, the streetlights buzzing on, the sidewalks cooling under her bare feet. Once, at a deserted corner well after dark, she stopped and waved at an imaginary car going by. Not liking the imaginary driver's imaginary response, she yelled, "Oh yeah, you too," and spat after it. She never did aim herself home, but eventually she smelled fresh paint and found that she was there. Even before she pulled the van door open, she heard snoring. Refrigerator John had rigged up a battery-powered lamp for her. She turned it on. Her mother was in her bedroll, with Willie, the bear, fast asleep. Primrose cracked. "Out of my room. This is my room, my place. Out, out, out." In a flapping flurry of nightgown, her mother fled. It was not until later, as she was lying down, that Primrose noticed Willie was still there, his white button eyes gawking, as if to say, "I don't believe you did that." She grabbed him by a leg and punched him, she flung him into the street. Out. Who cares? Chapter 27. They lived in the same town, but only the sky was vast enough to measure the distance between them. David rode his bike and spun his yo-yo and watched TV and read Beetle Bailey, read, but did not laugh much. He rode every day. He no longer rode in circles around town. He rode in straight lines out of town. He rode over the bridge and under the railroad trestle, and past the salad dressing factory and the river and the farm. It was a zoo kind of farm. You were allowed to walk around the pens and stalls and see the animals. Every day at the sheep pen, David came upon the same sheep. Every day he felt like punching it in the face. Thursday nights, Primrose went shopping. On Saturday, she peddled her goods at the flea market. The rest of the time, she worked on her room. In his dreams, David saw two halves of a worm groping about for each other. One of the halves was bleeding. "Davy, where are you?" As she had long intended, Primrose fixed flower boxes to the side and back windows of her room. In the boxes, she planted purple and yellow pansies. She loved the feel of their velvety petals between her fingers. On one weekend, David and his father played miniature golf. Afterward, they had Dairy Queen milkshakes. Another weekend, they went to a fair. There were warm donuts from a machine. David ate 3. They watched goats and cows compete for blue ribbons. The straw on the ground smelled like Madame Dufy's carpet-covered reading room. August waved shimmering images above the roads he pedaled on. August thundered like falling chairs in a distant room. Primrose surrounded the van with a 1-foot-high white picket fence. The ground in the driveway was hard, so she used a spoon to dig holes for the fence posts. David became more careful than ever about obeying rules. It was easier to do now that Primrose wasn't around. Sometimes he even made up his own rules. The more to obey, the better. He crossed streets only at corners. He looked both ways. He carried candy wrappers in his pockets for hours until he found a trash can. He never took a shortcut across someone's lawn. He never went in and out and in, up and down, or down and up. He never spat on a car. He never stepped on an ant, wiped his hands on his pants, picked his nose, blew bubbles in a drink, said a bad word, flicked earwax, sucked on a shoelace, played in mud, burped on purpose. Sometimes in the night, when fireflies outside his bedroom window blinked and jiggled like stars on strings, when sleep curled furiously about him, sometimes then he thought he could feel his mother getting closer. With the help of Refrigerator John, Primrose put a cement bird bath in her picket fence front yard. She filled it with water. She backed off a good 20 feet. She looked long at the van that had become her room, that had become her home. She borrowed Refrigerator John's camera. She took a picture. One Saturday morning, David's yo-yo string broke. He fitted Spitfire with a new one. The old string he cut into several lengths, which he absently played with as he watched the Bugs Bunny cartoon. When the cartoon was over, he looked down at his lap. The strings were braided. Chapter 28. The man on the TV screen had shiny black hair piled high and blue glittery necktie. He sat on a porch, but even David could tell it was a fake porch on the side of stage somewhere. People were lined up. One person at a time walked up the steps and across the porch and stood before the high-haired, glittery man. Every one of the people asked the man about somebody who had died, usually somebody in their family, a parent, a child, a grandparent, a wife, a husband. Someone even asked about a parrot. Each one had to tell the glittery man the name of their dead person, or a parrot, whose name was Booger. The glittery man asked a few more questions, and then the person forked over something that had belonged to the dead one. Usually it was an item of clothing, a hat, a shoe. The glittery man held the item against his forehead and closed his eyes and swayed and hummed, and when he came out of his trance, he told the person that they had been in contact with the dearly beloved, and that the dearly beloved, even the parrot, had spoken to him. Usually he just heard a voice from beyond the grave. The other side, he called it. But one time he actually saw the dead person. It was someone's wife. The glittery man told the husband what she looked like on the other side, and the husband was excited, saying, "Yes, yes, that's her." And he was crying and laughing at the same time, and he practically knocked over the glittery man by trying to thank him and hug him, and 2 bodyguards had to help him off the porch. Chapter 29. David chose a Thursday night because he knew Primrose would be out shopping. Even so, he didn't want to risk parking his bike outside and having it seen, so he walked. As he passed Refrigerator John's abode, he was drawn like a moth to the warm windows of light, but he forced himself to keep going. He wished he had brought a flashlight. He wished he ate carrots. Here the chorus of crickets was loud and never-ending. Every few steps he looked back at Refrigerator John's, its golden windows receding like the portholes of a departing ship. He kept his hands in his pockets. He squeezed the memento. The house gave no light. Darkness seemed to have puddled here. He wanted to turn back, but he had come too far. He found the front door, or rather, front space. The door was wide open. He reached over the threshold, waved his hand around. Nothing but the smell of sour flowers. He felt queasy. He whispered, "Hello?" No answer. "Anybody home?" Nothing. Louder. "Madame Doofy?" The darkness parted. Someone was coming, a face floating ghostly in candlelight. The face stopped before him. Was it her? He couldn't tell. The wild hair caught in the light was dark, not blonde. Frayed old nightshirt, no flaming dragging tongues. Maybe he came to the wrong house, got mixed up in the dark. He took a step back. At last she spoke. "Are you looking for my girl?" "No," he said. "I'm looking for Madame Doofy." He looked down at her bare feet. No toe rings. "Are you Madame Doofy?" She reached into the darkness with a candle. "Is she out there?" "Who?" "My girl." "You mean Primrose?" She smiled. "Primrose Periwinkle Doofy?" "Periwinkle?" "I want to ask you a question," he said. "Do you know her, my girl?" She was still looking over her shoulder. "Yes," he told her. "She lives out there." She pointed with the candle. "I know, Madame Doofy. She doesn't sleep with me anymore." "Madame Doofy!" He flinched at his own voice, but she continued to gaze at the stars. "Yes? I want to ask you about my mother." Slowly, for the first time, she turned her face to him. Candlelight glimmered in her eyes and the tips of her wild hair. She smiled. "I know." "You do? Everyone wants to know about their mother. Everyone loves their mother. Do you love your mother?" "Yes." "Good boy." She laid her hand on his head. "Your mother will have a long and happy life." "My mother's dead." She tilted her head, as if testing the sight of him from a different angle. She closed her eyes. She nodded. "Ah." She stepped aside. "Come in." He went in and followed instructions to sit opposite her on the floor. In the soft dim light, the room looked more like a tent than ever. She placed a candle between them. They sat like that for a long time. Her eyes were closed. There was a faint smile on her face. Was she making contact with the other side? Was his mother there? Here? Somewhere in the shadows beyond the candle glow? She said dreamily, "Your mother." She was silent for a while, then said it again. "Your mother." The candlelight wavered. He felt a spike of excitement. "Do you see her?" "Your mother." He clutched his knees. Carolyn Sue Limpert. She was born in the state of Minnesota. She has brown hair and green eyes. She was staring at him. "Green eyes?" "Yes, green." "My Primrose has green eyes," he shouted. "My mother, Carolyn Sue Limpert. Is she here?" Her eyes rolled into the ceiling, beyond the ceiling. "Your mother is everywhere." Frantically, he looked around. "Where?" "Your mother loves you." "Where is she? I want to see her." The shadows, the soft walls were moving. He was standing, turning, reaching. She said, "You were a pretty baby." He ran from one wall to the next, clutching at the woolly, hanging carpets. "Where is she? My Primrose was a pretty baby." She was staring at the candle. He fell to his knees. The candle flame seemed to fatten and grow, seemed to invite him into the bright heart of itself. She was in here. She was close. He pulled a memento from his pocket. It was a little purple plastic turtle. His mother loved turtles. He had bought it for her birthday with his own money. She had made it into a pin. She wore it every day. She was about to be buried with it, but he had reached into the casket and pulled it from her dress, so they wouldn't bury all of her. No one had tried to stop him. He held out the purple turtle. "This is for my mother." He set it on the carpet. She ran her fingertip over it. She picked it up. She cradled it in both her hands. She closed her eyes, smiled, and sang softly, "Rock-a-bye baby on the treetop." Dumbfounded, watching her swaying and singing, he knew it was all wrong. He should never have come here. He snatched the turtle from her. "Crackpot," he shouted. The force of the word blew the candle point in her direction. "You're a crackpot." He ran from the house. Chapter 30. He wandered aimlessly, feeling nothing, feeling everything. The night was brighter now. The moon was high and round, like a new softball. Cricket sounds puttered like the motors of tiny toys. Faintly sweet and rotten smells came to him from the trash bags and cans lining the curbs. His mother, snippets of memory, fell through the night like summer snow, fell in moonlit whispers. "Davy, Davy." In time, he wanted only to sleep. He dragged himself onto a porch. There was a grassy mat in front of the door. It said "Welcome." He lay down on it, curled himself up. A loud slap, and something hit him in the face. He opened his eyes to see a folded newspaper leaning against his nose. A car was accelerating up the street. The morning paper. The morning paper? He heard his mother's last words to him. "We'll see the sun rise tomorrow." He jumped to his feet, ran to the sidewalk. Across the street, beyond the rooftops of Perkiomen, The sun was pale gray with an unmistakable tinge of pink. No, he shouted, not yet. He started running before he realized he didn't know which way to go. His house was on Brewster. Where was Brewster? Where was he? Headlights coming toward him. He stared at the street, waved. The car stopped. The window went down. Can you tell me where Brewster Street is? The man pointed. Over there. You okay? But David was already running, racing the rising sun, racing down the middle of the streets, flying over lawns and flower beds, jamming his eyes to the ground, beseeching the unstoppable sun. Not yet, not yet. With every step, the night was draining away. He dared look up to get his bearings. Nothing familiar. No Brewster Street. He ran on, flowers, colorful smears beneath his flying feet. Not yet, not yet. Another look up. Still no Brewster. But there, a herd of appliances. Refrigerator John's. He raced to the door, pounded. Refrigerator, refrigerator. The door opened. The refrigerator stood in his boxer shorts and a t-shirt. David burst past him into the living room, dove into the sofa, and buried his face in a pillow. Chapter 31. It took some doing, but John finally dragged two pieces of information out of the groggy boy on the sofa. One, he had been out all night, and two, he wanted to sleep. Well, maybe John didn't know much about kids and grandmothers, but he knew about worry, and this kid was going home to do his sleeping in his own bed now. The boy went ballistic when John pulled him from the sofa. No, no. He lugged the boy across the room. Your grandmother would be worried sick. She doesn't know. I don't care. At 6 in the morning, you belong in your own bed. The boy dug in his heels, clamped his hands over his eyes. The sun. What about it? Is it up? Sure. It's light out. The boy clutched his arm. He was frantic. Go see for sure, please. Was the boy going daffy? John was inclined to just sling him over his shoulder and haul him out of there, but in the end he decided it was less trouble just to do it. He went outside, took a gander, came back in. Yep, sun's up. Let's go. The boy still balked. All the way? Sunrise is over? What was this boy afraid of? It's over. Next one's not till tomorrow. He felt the boy relax in his arms. From then on, he was no trouble. He climbed into John's truck and went right back to sleep. John knew the address. When they got there, not wanting to wake the boy again, John carried him to the front door and rang the doorbell. He had to ring it 4 or 5 times before the door finally opened. In the doorway stood a woman hardly taller than himself, clutching a pale blue bathrobe at her throat. His first thought was that she looked much younger than the old crone that David's descriptions had led him to expect. Her hand shot to her mouth, and she gasped in wide-eyed shock. David! Oh, my God! He tried to smile reassuringly. It's okay, Mrs. Lippert. He's only sleeping. He's fine. Her eyes darted from his face to the boys, to the street beyond. She was baffled. What? Right there, John decided to lie, to spare her what he could. He just showed up at my house this morning. I guess the birds woke him up, and he decided to visit me. He looked at the boy's face so peacefully sleeping. He wagged his head. Kids, huh? The smile she gave the sleeping boy was loaded with a history she could not read, but she could read the love in her brimming eyes. How about if I carry him to his bed? He suggested. Her head snapped up. She seemed to see him for the first time. Yes, I'm sorry. Come in, come in. She led him down the hallway to a room in the back of the house. As he deposited the boy in his bed, she laughed and said, Here you are, putting my grandson to bed, and I don't even know your name. John DeWalt. He held out his hand. She shook it like a man. I do appliances. Fix, sell, trade. Over on Tulip. She squinted at him. Refrigerator, John? That's me. And you must be the grandma. Margaret Limpert. They shook hands again. Let me get his shoes off, she said, and we'll go put some coffee on. Can't have morning without it. You got that? And so they talked over coffee in the kitchen. They started off discussing his business in the town and so forth, but pretty soon they zeroed in on the only thing they really wanted to talk about, the boy, David. Did you know his mother died? She said. He said yes, he knew. He was very attached to her. I know. He still misses her every day. I know. The conversation went on like that until it occurred to him that he better stop saying, I know. He was feeling uncomfortable, guilty even, because he knew so much about her grandson. In some cases, more than she did. He wondered if she was aware of how the boy talked about her. If she was aware, she wasn't letting on. She had nothing but nice things to say about her grandson. John admired her for that. He liked her. She had a pleasant, somewhat plumpy face and a full, friendly smile. Yes, there was a gray in her hair and crinkle about her eyes, so that a 9-year-old might call her old, but she was hardly ready for the glue factory, and she was obviously devoted to her grandson. John knew from the boy's talks with Primrose how he treated his grandmother. He knew how it must hurt her, but she did not let it show until they had been talking nonstop for well over an hour. Then she paused and sipped her coffee and looked away. Her smile wilted, and when it came back, it was no longer real. Well, I shuddered to think what he must say about his grandmother. She said it with a laugh and forced not that I care eagerness. But he wasn't buying it. His heart went out to her. He knew that what she was hoping for. She wanted him to refute her fears. She wanted to believe that the boy was unkind only when he was with her, that when he was with other people, he spoke of her with affection. He gave her exactly what she craved. Hey, he pumped up 2 thumbs. He loves his grandma. She winced, blinked, brought back the fake smile. She knew he was lying. She reached for his empty cup. More? From then on, he did most of the talking. He was careful not to say anything that would give away the boys' late-night escapes from his bedroom. He talked about Primrose, about the two of them practically living at the house. As soon as he said practically living, he regretted it. It was mid-morning when he got up to leave. At the door, her smile was real once more, but not quite so big. Well, she said, I'm glad he has you two. He shook her hand, and walked away and heard the door close softly behind him. Chapter 32. Several days later, David woke up to find a note on his bed. It said, meet me at my place, now. A minute later, he was on his bike, wondering, is this another trick? But still pedaling. She was outside, sunning herself on a lawn chair by a bird bath inside a shin-high, white picket fence that surrounded the white and blue van home. Bare feet, sunglasses. She did not move as she said, I stopped over for you. I baloneyed for you. Where were you? The last 2 weeks, the separation vanished. He said, shopping for school clothes. With your grandmother? Yeah. He didn't like her in the sunglasses, lying there so still. Is this a trick? She got up, laughing and wagging her head. You still think everything's a trick, huh? Well, you're right. I'm gonna kidnap you. She lunged for him. He jumped back. She howled. I still don't like you, he told her. Good, she said. I still don't like you either. And I'm still waiting for you to say something. About what? She rolled her eyes. About what? She spun around, thrust her arm towards her new home. Didn't you happen to notice anything a little different? David looked. Yeah. Well, what? What do you think? He shrugged. It's okay. She stared at him. She nodded thoughtfully. Okay, he says. She tapped the fence with her toe. You hear that? You're okay. She knocked on the bird bath. You too. You're okay. That's spelled O-K-A-Y. Did you ever get such a monumental compliment before? I sure didn't. I don't think I can stand it. I think I'm going to faint. She struck the back of her hand to her forehead. She swooned. Oh. Ignoring her, David said, you got egged. He was looking at 3 egg splatters on what used to be the back window, now painted white. Primrose ditched her swoon, led him to the window, and placed his hand on one of the splatters, then the other 2. David's eyes bulged. They're fake. Somebody was selling them at a flea market, along the fake dog poop and vomit. I glued them on. Why? I figured maybe if they see them there, they'll say, hey, look, she's already egged. Let's hit somebody else. Did it work? Nope, she snickered. Sometimes they even get in the daytime now. David could only stare. She shrugged. I don't care. I got what I want. They're just jealous because of my new place. They wish they could have a place of their own, too. She pulled him around to the door, pushed his head in. What do you think? Just okay? David was amazed. Instead of the bright green paint that he himself had helped to lay on, the interior was covered with wallpaper. There was birthday cakes and kettle drums and prancing horses and feathered bonnets. Did I hear you say wow? Wow, said David, meaning it. I got sick of that green after 2 days. It was like, eek! Fridge took me to the wallpaper place. I picked it out myself. She ducked in for a peek. Beautiful, David said. Is that why you told me to come over? Primrose came out with her socks and sneakers. She sat in the lawn chair. Nope. David stood over her. So why? Primrose brushed the dust from the bottom of her foot and pulled out a sock. We're going somewhere.